I'm here with Liz Danzico, and she's a panelist. And tell us why you're here, what you're going to talk about on your panel.
Yeah, I'm here to talk about designers and developers and why we can't get along. It's a panel we're doing on Tuesday at 11:30, and it was the instigation of a guy named Chris Lee from Media Temple and now Verb. And it's to sort of bridge the divide between designers and developers and try to maintain some sort of vocabulary and communication pattern that allows designers and developers to communicate more easily. So we have actually 6 panelists. We have 3 designers and 3 developers, and we may even break the panel into 2 panels because there's so many people up there. But we, in every panel that I do here at South by Southwest, I actually try to get the audience involved. Not through Twitter or something like that, although I've thought about that too, but actually through analog engagement.
Okay.
Seems like a strange phrase, but I do a lot of like index card questions and audience questions. So we're going to break the audience up into 3 groups, designers, developers, and hybrids, and get them to participate in questions and get them to write their questions down on these index cards and get the panelists to respond in 30-second answers.
Great.
So, great.
So what's up with developers and designers, and why don't they get along?
Yeah, well, this is the age-old question, right? We've been working together now in some sense and sort of interaction design problems for 20 years, right? If you look at interfaces, and for, if you look at, the industrial design era for over 100 years, and why we don't communicate is the real question, and I can't tell you the answer, otherwise you wouldn't come to my panel on Tuesday. But these questions of why there are communication problems is very good. I mean, there's pride involved, there's a difference of vocabulary that's involved, there are working styles that are different, there are sort of the different sort of culture fits that are involved. There's a fear and sort of a protection of property and intellectual property, sort of ownership over the things you're creating. All of which are sort of good reasons, but none of which are actually moving an idea or a product forward. So, and everybody knows that, and everybody sort of has the same goals. And when people do work together, everybody knows that it actually creates a better user experience, a better product, a better service. And so everybody knows that there is a better way to go about these things. And so the people on the panel, and many people here at South by Southwest, because they are here, are interested and invested in a better way of working and have better ways of working. And so anyway, we're sort of interested in putting this conversation out there in the public. We've done it before at Feature Web Design, and it works out very well. And we're just excited to kind of create the space for this dialogue and see what may come of it. It gets very contentious, which is great, and we're looking forward to that.
And where are you from?
I'm from New York City.
Okay, great place to be. And what is in your background and experience that gives you some authoritativeness in this area?
I am a mediator. That's my background. So I'm neither a designer nor a developer. So I've been in between, kind of facilitating these relationships for many years. So right now I'm the chair of a graduate program at the School of Visual Arts, sort of curating and building a graduate program. I've also been an interaction designer. So the role of an interaction designer or user experience professional is that person sort of facilitates the conversation and the user experience among designers, developers, business people, product managers, sort of is in the middle of that conversation and is the mediator. And also, for better or for worse, tend to be sort of overly diplomatic. So
there's also a mediation that seems like that would take place between a client and a developer.
Absolutely.
And it would seem to me there might be a greater need there.
Oh yeah. If you want to be in client services, absolutely you need to be a great mediator. You need to be extremely diplomatic. You also need to have the wherewithal to sort of stick to itiveness to understand what the original vision is and stick to your ideas. So you need to sort of understand all involve the individual counterparts in the ideas of all the parties and be able to push that idea forward while keeping in mind the sort of vision of the client on the business needs.
Yeah, it almost seems like when you hire a developer, if you're a client and you want to get a website built, and you want to hire a designer and hire a developer, there almost needs to be like a courtship period, doesn't there? So where you get to know them before you get married, right?
Right. If you're on the client side, you mean?
Yeah.
I think, well, you know what? I think it's equal. I think that the client should have a courtship period, and I think you as an agency or an individual consultant should also have that same courtship period. Jeffrey Zeldman talks about that very thing. Jeffrey Zeldman is a consultant, has a studio, Happy Cog, and talks about this whole idea of sort of understanding and having a relationship with a client, and vice versa, in order to understand if you can get along as kind of people in a kind of courtship or relationship before you engage in a project together, because communication is so key. Absolutely.
How do you like your thin Mac here, a little thin Mac?
I like it quite a bit. It allows. It's kind of the shell of the. Is it on camera? No, I guess not. Yeah, the MacBook Air. I'm an advocate for travel.
All right.
Travel only.
And what are your interests and hobbies besides mediation?
Oh gosh, mediation. Mediation sort of carries over into other areas of my life. I am. Let's see, I play the cello, so there's lots of cello playing going on. Cello is the mediator of the orchestra, I'd say. It's sort of in between the violin and the viola and the bass. I'm also an editor, so I do a lot of editing, kind of freelance.
Who do you edit for?
I do a lot of editing for online magazines, online publications, and books involved on the editorial board for Rosenfeld Media, which is a user experience publisher. So editing is like a mediation role. Is that for fun? I consider that for fun.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of running. Running is sort of, there's no mediation theme there, but there's...
You run around New York City?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a great thing. If you can run in the morning around New York City and sort of make it back to your apartment or your house alive, you can conquer any client meeting.
Where do you run, in Central Park?
I'm in Brooklyn, and so I run around along the river.
Oh, great.
Get to see the city from a distance. Yeah.
All right. So what are the hot things, buzzwords and hot trends that you're seeing around South by? What's impressed you? What sticks out in your mind?
I have to say, and I don't know what other people have been saying, but just the sheer scale of our industry and how it's grown is really impressive. In that, in other years, and this is my fourth year, so I can't speak from a historical perspective like others might, there has been a theme, right? It's been social media, it's been tools, the 37 Signals year of a few years ago. There's been a single theme, right? This year, the sheer scale of the event, I think there are 10,000 people here, something like that. There isn't a single theme, and that's kind of cool, right? It's a little more sprawling. There are numbers of themes out there, and so there isn't one single thing that you can kind of say, okay, that's it, and that's kind of interesting.
If you had to pick one thing that just kind of flashed through your mind off the top, what would you say?
Well, the group I've been sort of kind of interested in is kind of like urban architecture, media, and public spaces.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
all right. Yeah. And how do we find you on Twitter?
Bobby Legs.
Bobby Legs.
That's interesting. No, it's discombobulated without the others. Bobby Legs.
Oh, okay. Got you. All right. And what other social nets are you on?
The usual stuff. Facebook, Flickr. And the usual suspects.
Your Flickr page is the same, I guess.
All very consistently Bobby Leeds.
All right, great. Well, it's wonderful talking to you.
You too.
I envy you living in New York City, but I also like living here in Austin. How do you like Austin?
I absolutely adore it. I almost moved here years ago, so it's high on my list.
Good. Well, maybe we'll see you here someday.
I hope so.
Running down this town lake or something.
Absolutely. Every time I'm here, I'm around Town Lake.
Yeah.
So,
great.
Enjoy it.
Awesome talking to you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Austin Lifestyles.